Hello, I'm Catherine Walter. I'm the Series Advisor for Navigate. I've had a varied career as a writer of EFL course materials for many years and as an academic researcher for the last 20 years. Today, I'd like to say a very few words to you about the approach to teaching reading and listening in Navigate. You know how sometimes one sentence will change the way you think about things? That happened to me when I read this sentence from Paul Nation's book on reading and writing. The teacher should ask, how does today's teaching make tomorrow's text easier? This brought home to me what we should be doing when we're trying to teach reading and listening skills. Too often, what people do with a reading text or a listening passage is to help the learners understand that particular text or that particular passage. What our real job is to help the learners understand the next bit of English they read or hear. This is what we try to do in Navigate. Let's start with reading. What are the differences between first language reading and second language reading? Well, to begin with, the first language reader probably knows all the words. And there is research on how many of the words a reader needs in order to read a text without a dictionary. The answer is 98%. Other research shows that when learners guess the meaning of unknown words, they usually guess them wrong. Of course, learners will need to try and guess the meaning of words in high-stakes examinations, so we need to give them strategies for this. But far more important is making sure that the most frequent and useful words are taught well. By using the Oxford 3000 word list, Navigate focuses on the words that learners are most likely to find in the next text. There are some special words and phrases that can help learners read the next text well, the ones that hold text together. Pronouns, determiners like this and that, words like which, that link one part of the sentence to another. Expressions like on the other hand, that tell you how the writer feels about what follows. Being able to decode these special words and phrases quickly will transfer to the next text, so they get special emphasis in Navigate. Because learners don't only need to understand well, they also need to understand quickly. Reading a text quickly gives you enough material to build a picture of the text in your mind, and ultimately, that's what comprehension is. Exercises that focus on reading faster give learners a big advantage in understanding the next text. So, the message about reading is yes, learners need to read a lot, and yes, they need to have practice in guessing words that they don't know, but Navigate's focus on specific ways of making the next text easier to read pays off. Big time. What about listening? Well, the big message from the research here, and I'm thinking especially about John Field's research, is that listening is different from reading. Seems obvious, doesn't it? But too many listening exercises are copied from reading exercises. A big difference between listening and reading is that listening is linear. The words go by and they're gone. The listener can't stop and look back as the reader can. So teaching decoding skills for listening is probably even more important than teaching decoding skills for reading, because it makes it easier for learners to understand the next bit of English they hear. And note, there's evidence that calling on learners' background knowledge is less useful than giving them tools for better listening. This means going down to a basic level, to what you might call receptive pronunciation. It means specific teaching of the features that make it difficult for learners to understand spoken English. Features that make the difference between I can do it and I can't do it. Between I've lived in Paris and I live in Paris. Between she's finished it and she'd finished it. This is really important. If learners can't pronounce English perfectly, they can usually manage to make themselves understood. But if they can't understand the pronunciation of English, they can't understand. Full stop. Navigate's systematic syllabus of specific listening difficulties helps learners understand better the next bit of English they hear. Research also shows that learners tend not to realize what they don't understand and that they continue in false interpretations in the face of later evidence. It's important to help learners learn to realize what they have understood and what they haven't. And learners need to listen to English spoken at natural speed. When they're in the real world, listening to the next bit of English, they won't have a choice about this. One way of becoming better at listening at natural speed is to listen a lot, but many learners don't have the time or resources to do this. So specific exercises for developing their ability to listen at speed are another feature of the Navigate series. To sum up, what Navigate aims for is to give learners specific knowledge and skills that will not only help them understand and enjoy the interesting texts and listening passages in the course, but much more importantly, to understand the next bit of English they read or hear.